Here we are. It is time once more. We're going to be cross stitching. I have done a couple of new things. Actually, you know what? On screen, the layout probably looks the same. Um, but I've done some other stuff kind of on the side. I've got let's see. I've tried to automate some stuff. I have a stream deck over here that's supposed to be doing something that it is 100% not doing right now. But I will spend time trying to debug that later. Welcome. Thank you for coming. It's going to be a great night. This is the third and final Snively cross stitch corner before we end up in real life in Cambridge at CPW, and it's gonna be awesome. So let's see. Maybe I do have a little time since we don't have a whole lot of people on the stream yet. Maybe I can try to debug something really quick here. Let's see. So what's happening? I'll kind of walk you through what I'm trying to do here. Is I have a stream deck to my left, and I've got it programmed so that supposedly it's going to show. Hey, Hector, you get to watch some really boring, not cross stitching for just a half second, but you can hear me blather on about trying to get uh, my setup working. So I have what is called a stream deck off to my left, and it is supposed to be showing me how many people are actively watching this right now, and it is not. So we are going to try fixing it. Let's see. I'm going to do this. We're going to do this. Just watching me type on a computer, clicking things. Okay. All right. Yeah, that just 100% does not work. Well, that's always fun. I'll figure it out before Boston. All right, here we go. It's time to cross stitch. So for those of you who have not attended before, we are cross stitching a small feline from Ukraine. Let me zoom out just a hair here. Oh, there he is. Start every stream just by showing off what we're working with here. Hector, I believe this is your third time attending, so you don't need to listen to the big ol' spiel. Alicia, I don't know if I recognize your name from prior streams, so I will let you decide how much of this you want to be cross-stitch specific versus MIT specific versus me just talking about whatever comes to mind specific. Those are your options. So, all right. We will start with cross-stitching, however. And what we have done so far is we have gotten, I'll make this a little easier to see here. So we have stitched this full row here. And so now I'm coming back this way. I've got a little light blue square under his nose I need to skip, but otherwise it's going to be blue all the way, dark blue all the way across. So that should be easy enough. So on we go. So I left last week with the cliffhanger. I guess I should say, basically these are not always just jam-packed full of MIT stories or knowledge, but they can be as jam-packed with MIT knowledge and stories as you want. It's completely up to you. So to follow up on the cliffhanger where I left on Wednesday. So on Wednesday at 7 p.m. from 7 to 9, I cross-stitched here, and then I mentioned that I had to wake up at 2 in the morning to head down south to Indianapolis for a work trip. And I was going to be there for Thursday, Friday, and half a Saturday. Well, that happened, and now I am back on Saturday. I drove back up from Indy today, and it went really well. It wasn't so much a meeting, it was an installation of equipment. So the company I work for, it's called Shuttleworth. I've been wearing their stuff pretty much for every single one of these because most of the stuff I own is corporate logo. See, here's the thing. At MIT, you get lots of free shirts. Well, that continues into real life depending on the company you work for. So Anyway, Shuttleworth creates material handling equipment, which is a fancy way of saying conveyors. But they're not conveyor belts like you'd normally think of. They're like a bunch of rollers. So it's a bunch of shafts and rollers, and all the shafts are independently, or they're all driven, and the rollers, spin and move stuff. Anyway, so we had this series of equipment that was going to convey trays of frozen muffin batter from the freezer that froze them through a machine that wraps them in plastic and heat shrinks them, and then onward to where people were going to put them in boxes and ship them. So we built all this in our factory up here in Huntington, Fort Wayne, Indiana, about 2.5 hours north of Indianapolis. Built it all here, and it was time to install it this last week. So it went fine. By the way, fun piece of trivia, the muffins are Panera and Dunkin' Donuts. So if you ever eat a Panera or a Dunkin' Donut muffin, know that it at some point passed over equipment that I helped install last week. There's your fun bit of trivia. Also across the hallway in that same factory was the Subway cookie bake line. So I got to see where all Subway cookies were born. They were making macadamia nut cookies this last week. So, anywho, got there, got it all unloaded off the truck and unskidded, and then got it all into the room, started laying it all out. The big thing about this stuff is you bolt it down to the floor and then it runs for like 10 years, right? So it's all like when you set it up, it's all about making sure it's perfectly square, perfectly level. You got laser levels and all sorts of stuff. And spent all of our time on Wednesday and a good chunk of Thursday getting it all square and level and everything. And then when we got to the very last conveyor, where it was supposed to meet up with another piece of equipment, it was 6 inches too short, which is an awesome. I mean, the first important thing to know is that these installs never go 100% smoothly. You can never think of everything. So it was 6 inches too short. So we got on the phone with the mechanical engineer back at the shop who took the measurements. And he said, all right, you took these measurements. Go ahead and fix the problem. So he stayed late and then got in early and drew up a bunch of new parts so that we could extend one of the conveyors by 6 inches. So all those parts came down on yesterday. We got them all installed and everything, and we're getting everything wired up. And then today, they finished all the wiring. We got the conveyor extended. We got the plastic wrapper all up and running and wrapping stuff. And then I got a video from on site maybe an hour ago where they were actually running test trays of muffins. So all in all, it went really well, except for the little short by 6 inches thing. Everything went well. So the actual live production, they're going to start actually mixing and freezing and doing full true production Monday morning at, I think they start mixing batter at like 4:30 in the morning, and then muffins come out of the freezer at 6 a.m. So that's when we'll know if it actually all works. So I got there, sorry, back to the struggles I was going to have. So I stayed up until like 10 or 11 the night before I went down there and had to wake up at 2, which I did. I got up at 2 and I made it down there by 6, which is when I wanted to get there. And then I worked all day and that was fine. And then we left the factory at, I would say, 5:36. So we worked from 6 to 6 and then got back to the hotel, charged my phones for a little bit and sat down on the bed and was like, all right, I'll charge phones for a little bit. And then I'll head out and get something to eat. And then the next thing I knew, my alarm was going off and it was morning and time to wake up. Because I had fallen asleep in my jacket, in my clothes. Just apparently when you wake up at 2 and then work a 12-hour day and drive for 2.5 hours, that is apparently when my body just gives up. And then the next day was similar, another long day, and then I went to bed at like 7 the next day. So, yeah, it was all good. Okay, let's see here. Working my way down to the next row on the kitty. So yeah, so like I said, the true test when I'm gonna get all the ugly phone calls is gonna be on Monday. But tomorrow I have a really nice, just low pressure day. Tomorrow I actually have homework, which is really weird to say as someone who graduated college like over 10 years ago. Uh, but the company I work for does tuition reimbursements. And so I'm like, well, if it's gonna be free, I should probably get another degree. I mean, why not, right? So I am working towards a master's degree at Purdue in my off hours. Purdue has like a wholly online industrial engineering master's degree program. But what all that comes to is now I am doing homework again, which is just, yeah, I thought I was done, but not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Then another 4. One thing, though, that is interesting is like homework is a lot different now than when I did it. Uh, just by the nature of like the sheer number of YouTube tutorials is just amazing. It's amazing. And it almost feels like cheating. It's so amazing, but it's not. I mean, the whole point is to like get the information in your head, right? The whole point is to learn. So it's not cheating. It's just a really, really effective way of getting info into your head. But one thing I'm doing now in my master's program that I sort of started dipping my toes into in undergrad is using LaTeX on all of my homework assignments. So I don't know if you guys, it's it didn't used to be common in high school. So I don't know if you guys know what LaTeX is, but LaTeX is essentially a uh, just calling it a programming language. It's a markup language. That's probably closer. It's essentially like writing code, and when you compile the code, instead of running like a little program, it generates a fully rendered, like beautiful PDF of a document. Uh, Most people you talk about LaTeX and they're like, well, why don't you just use Microsoft Word? But Microsoft Word is not beautiful. Microsoft Word can make things very, very, very ugly very easily. So LaTeX, people build templates, and then all you do is like type and say, this is a paragraph, this is a numbered list, this is a picture. And LaTeX automatically formats it into something quite lovely. So I've been using LaTeX for all of my homework assignments, and I'm very proud of the way they've turned out. And back when I learned LaTeX in undergrad, okay, yeah, so it's typically used for math. The math markup language in LaTeX is like incredibly powerful, but yeah, just for like every textbook you've ever written was likely done in LaTeX. Well, that's not true. I made a really big assumption there, but it would be easy to believe that textbooks were done in LaTeX just to maintain the consistent formatting and all that. But the when I did LaTeX in college back in the day, 10 years ago, it was not as it was kind of scrappy. It was like the early days of it wasn't even the early days. It was like the awkward teenage years of LaTeX. And the hold on, let's see, I gotta count. I gotta count. This number is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I got another 4. That's 5. So you downloaded like sketchy programs and had to run like an independent installer, and you were dealing with file management, like local file management and file paths and things like that. But now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I discovered this really, 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 really awesome program called Overleaf. And Overleaf is just like this gorgeous, all cloud-based LaTeX tool that I've been using. And I love it. So it's not free, but it is free for MIT students and Purdue students. Many academic institutions, based on my sample size of 2, probably have some kind of relationship with Overleaf. Okay, so now we're getting towards an area where I wanted to be careful because I'm not necessarily in love with this little smirky smile face. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's not necessarily my fave. Um, so I think I want to avoid it for a little bit and focus on other areas of the cat. Maybe go back over all these stitches and then come back later and focus on the mouth region. But so let's do that. So anyway, Overleaf is super awesome. So I've been formatting all my homework in Overleaf, and it reminded me again of how nice it is to have, like, to be a student, because the instant I registered for Purdue, I got access to like all of Purdue's software licenses and things, which again you'll have at MIT. So one of my favorite programs, Solidworks, because I'm a mechanical engineer and I'm a 3D solid modeling junkie. I got Solidworks access again. Solidworks is one of those things that the whole time I was in academia, like high school through college, like I always had access to it. And I didn't take it for granted, but I didn't realize like how crappy it was going to be when I graduated and lost it. So I've been kind of hurting for some SolidWorks for the last several years. And when I enrolled at Purdue, all of a sudden, boom, I had access to it again. So that was super great. I haven't dug through the rest of the software library that they have available, but I'm sure there's some other gems in there. Let's see. Let's see what else. My not 3.5, but definitely not just 3, like maybe 3.25-year-old son. We got him a Spider-Man costume yesterday, and that pretty much changed his entire life. It's the little things. He's been pretending to be Spider-Man for a long time, but I don't think didn't realize that there was a way for him to actually be Spider-Man until we gave him this costume. So he has been running around the house all night, going after Doc Ock and the Green Goblin. So that's been my evening, is facilitating the vanquishing of evil, which is fun. He's cute. Missed him while I was in Indy. All right. So I was going back through some photos. So the topic of Jello wrestling came up last stream. And so after that stream was over, I went and started looking up, trying to find pictures of me Jello wrestling in college, which I did. It was during CPW, which makes me think it would not be a waste for you to bring at least 1 or 2 extra pairs of clothes in the event that one of your pairs of clothes gets ruined, because there are things like Jello wrestling and foam parties and other things that could potentially soil a pair of clothes. So definitely don't just pack for 3 days. Pack for like maybe 6 days. It'd be worth your while. Anyway, so I was going back through all these pictures from the past, looking for the Jello wrestling pictures, and it reminded me of just like it was a nice little nostalgia trip, and it made me like, you guys are gonna have fun at MIT. It's gonna be super fun. Like, I'd kind of forgotten all of the things that I'd done, but going back through all those pictures, man, there were so many trips and so many fun little just doohickeys and projects and weird little things that we did. Like, there was this time where we took a green pool noodle and we planted it in a pot, and then we went and dropped it off at the president of MIT's like front door, and just like left it as a gift after putting like googly eyes and a pom-pom nose on it. That was cool. Walking around in Boston like in the height of winter, not as fun, but definitely an experience to have. Let's see, man. I'm trying to think of the other. I mean, oh, I guess I could talk a little bit about so the Northeast is fairly compressed. So I don't know where you two are from, or whoever, however many people are on the stream, but I am from Oregon. And so when you are in Oregon, if you want to go to, say, Washington or California or Idaho or something like that, that is a trip. You are driving for many, many hours because the states are so big. When you are in Massachusetts, you are an hour train ride away from Rhode Island. You are an hour and 5 minute drive south of New Hampshire. You are an hour and 15 minutes away from Vermont. You are 4 hours away from Manhattan. You are close to a lot of things. And so Puerto Rico, okay, so probably not super close, like on like a couple of hours basis to other states. uh, the Northeast is going to rock your world. You're going to have a great time. It's going to be, well, I don't know. I've never been to Puerto Rico. I'm making an assumption that it will be totally different. But the I found myself in so many different places for so many weird reasons, and I just didn't expect that at all. The super fun one that I took advantage probably more than any other is that Boston South Station has a series of buses that will take you from Boston to Manhattan. And they're called Chinatown buses because they drop you off in Chinatown in New York. And they're primarily Chinese owned and operated. But I would always hop onto one of these buses at like 2 a.m. in Boston and just sleep for 4 hours. I would just sleep on the bus and then wake up at 6 a.m. in New York and spend an entire day in New York. And then I would catch like a 8 or no, I think I don't remember what time. We're between 8 and 10 o'clock p.m. bus back to Boston after spending a whole day in New York and sleep on the way back. And so it was almost like time travel and just immediately being in New York. And I think it only costs like $20 each way. So for $20 there and $20 back, you could go to New York. Rhode Island is less, I mean, there's less to do there when you get there in Rhode Island, you know? It's like you get off a train in Rhode Island, you're like, all right, now what do I do? I went to Rhode Island a bunch because I worked there for a summer. So in Rhode Island is Hasbro's in Rhode Island, like the Hasbro World headquarters. They make toys. So I worked there for a summer. New Hampshire, I ended up in. Did I end up in New Hampshire when I was at MIT? I'm sure I must have. I mean, I definitely drove through because when I was at MIT, I ended up in Maine. Like our floor went on a trip to Maine and probably drove through New Hampshire to get there. But I went to New Hampshire a bunch after graduating. And then Vermont, I went on spring break to Vermont to go skiing, and we stumbled upon the Ben and Jerry's factory on National Ice Cream Day. So that was super cool. Got a bunch of free ice cream and got to see how Ben and Jerry's is made. Let's see where else. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you can take 4 hours to get to Manhattan, it's only another hop, skip, and a jump to New Jersey. But I never actually went to New Jersey while I was there unless I flew out of Newark for some reason. But yeah, I don't know. It's just so close, you know. Like if you haven't visited very many states, you can knock a bunch off your bucket list when you're on campus if you can find the time to go. But you should make the time to go. What's really cool about okay, so here's another cross stitching tip is you do all the half stitches while looking at the pattern, and then it's really fast to go back over them because you don't have to look at the pattern. All you're doing is looking at the fabric and just stitching, putting little half stitches over what you've already done. And I don't know if you guys can tell here, but it's really like you can really tell the difference. Yeah, it's pretty obvious on the camera. Like which regions have the half stitches and which ones have the full. It really helps kind of flesh it out. Now, if you do, so I'm stitching with 3 strands right now. So this piece of thread has 3 individual strands in it. And because of the 3 strands, the completed stitches, you can barely see any fabric through it. It's basically just solid blue. But those half stitches there, that is more, if you see someone who stitches with 2 pieces of floss, that's kind of like the opacity you would expect to see. They would be full stitches, but you could still see fabric kind of behind them. They look much more like little X's instead of little dots. And they still look like X's. I mean, I would say that, here, let's look. Like, I would argue that these still look like X's, like if you were to stitch an individual one, but when you start to lump them together, they end up looking like little, like, dots or pops of color there. So, let's see here. So, we're working our way back across the kitty here. So, I don't know if you guys realize, I'm sure you do, I'm sure I don't have to be the person to tell you this, but like CPW is coming up real fast. It's coming up real fast. I think we have all next week, not at CPW, and then I'm pretty sure CPW is the week after that. So, to take all sorts of time off work to get to CPW, drive there, get all set up and everything. So I have all next week at work. Then I work 2 days the next week. And then I'm getting off work on that Tuesday before CPW, because CPW starts on a Thursday. So I'm getting off work on Tuesday. I'm getting in my car, and I'm going to stop at home really quick to grab my live streaming gear and everything, because I'm bringing this whole rig with, like, so, yeah, you guys can't see it, and I have no way of showing it to you without really screwing a lot of my camera angles up. But I have to somehow fit, let's see, 2 monitors, a camera stand, a mic stand, another camera stand, and a monitor stand. I have to fit all of this in the back of my car somehow, and leave Tuesday after work and just drive through the night. I'm basically just going to drive through the night to get to Boston, because it's like a 13-hour drive from my house, and I have to stop to charge because I drive a Tesla, which is, I think, the only reason I'm going to be able to fit all this in there, because it has like tons of storage space. My goal is to get into Boston by 10 a.m. the next morning. And I'm just going to sleep while the car charges. So through a series of like very strategic power naps, I'm going to get from Indiana to Boston. The other kind of strategy here is CPW is going to screw my sleep schedule up so much that I might as well just screw it up to begin with, and just totally sleep shift and screw up my internal clock. So I'll get into Cambridge, Boston area on Wednesday, get all set up, get everything locked away in a closet and tested and all that. Go wander around campus for a little bit and eat delicious food. And then get a good night's sleep before all of the chaos starts. Because I believe at 8 a.m. on Thursday, registration begins. And from then on out, it is just a marathon. I'm not going to be doing this cat. I have an MIT themed, like very specific cross stitch that I've designed and got ready just for CPW. And it is the number of stitches in it. I did like a bit of a time study. The number of stitches in it is an amount that will presumably fill up all of CPW if I stitch for 16 hours a day. So my plan is to stitch for at least 16 hours a day and be live streaming that entire time. I don't even know if YouTube allows you to like live stream for 16 hours. There might be some kind of cutoff. I should probably look that up before I get there. But I think I begin life in the student center near where registration is. And then I will be calling the student center home base, but because I'm entirely mobile, on my desk is on wheels, I can just roll wherever I want to go on campus. So I might end up in lobby 7 or lobby 10. I might end up in Kresge. If I can find an outlet outside and there's the Wi-Fi strong enough, I might cross stitch outside if the weather's nice. That'd be crazy. But I will always be online and available. So I think the last little piece of business I got to do, I owe them a little description of what this thing is. So far, I feel like I've described it like 18 times for like 18 different documents and whatnot, but I owe them just a little blurb to put in the book, and then yeah, be be all set. I'm looking forward to as much as I'm looking forward to going to MIT. I'm also looking forward to like the short work week. I love short work weeks. They're my fave. Have a good evening, Alicia. I will see you in Cambridge. It's going to be great. YouTube doesn't save the stream after a while, but lets you stream however long you want. I can check right now when it stops recording. Yeah. I mean, I guess, the worst case is I can just make little like part one, part two, part three, and just, time how long I've been streaming and then stop the streams every so often. That wouldn't be the end of the world. Oh, 12 hours. That's reasonable. Like I can do 12-hour segments. So are you coming from Puerto Rico to CPW? Are you making the trip? Or are you living vicariously through the stories and writings of others? It feels weird not talking. Like it feels like I have to fill the silence, but I also know that I need to get used to it because if I have that same attitude later, um, I'll make it one day before I can't talk anymore. I'll completely lose my voice. So I have to just silently stitch. I guess I could whisper. I almost need some like royalty free like background music. Oh, nice. Oh, so you've known since December that you got in. That's super cool. I was in the same boat. It made it a little difficult to really give it 100% effort my second semester of high school. It's like, I mean, I did fine, but man, I was pretty checked out. Um, but MIT has been known to rescind offers if you just totally destroy with if you destroy your grades. I'm not sure how they decide who gets grants though. Maybe it has to do with distance. I don't think it's distance. I think it's much more ability to pay. I'm sure distance factors into that because distance is much more expensive. But um, MIT is not afraid to help pay to get people to CPW. It is invested in getting those who were admitted to attend. So, but that is cool. That'll be a fun trip. It's like a big deal. I guess so. When I went to CPW, I flew from Oregon. Yeah. Yes. So I flew from Oregon, which is I don't have a map in front of me. It is likely not nearly as far away as Puerto Rico, but yeah, I mean it was not a short trip. Like flying to the East Coast from Oregon is definitely some serious travel. But God, it was fun. I had a really, really good time. I hope that it's fun this year. I mean, I'm sure it will, right? Like, you'd have to work pretty hard to mess it up, just because everybody wants to have so much fun that they will. Like, even if they have to make their own fun. So, I have okay, so I went to MIT, which means I didn't go to one of these schools that participates in the NCAA March Madness brackets each year. So I've never really cared about them, but my wife is a KU, University of Kansas, grad, and so I felt kind of obligated to spend $5 and buy into my works uh, bracket from Puerto Rico. It's about 5 hours. Yeah, so that's the same amount. That's the same flight time from Oregon. So that's cool. So anyway, I got this March Madness bracket going, and I think there's like 50 or so people or 50 or so brackets at work competing. And I don't know anything about basketball. So all I did was pick based on like seed number. Picked a couple upsets, picked a few people. I mean, the only thing that I had to do was make sure that Kansas was going all the way to the end and winning. And I am in first place. I am totally rocking it. And no one at work is happy about that. But what are they going to do? So tonight, Villanova needs to win. Tomorrow, Kansas and Duke need to win. And then it's just all Kansas all the way. No one but Kansas after that. So I had over here on my left, I had my phone that has since gone to sleep. But hold on, you gotta. Let's see here. 38-29. Ah, yeah. It's gonna be good. So Villanova is winning. It's happened the last time I did a bracket. I've only ever done 2 March Madness brackets in my life, and the last one was in like 2014. I did one for work again, and I won. So I am 1 for 1, hopefully soon about to be 2 for 2. I think the big talk of the town is so Purdue. Like I said, I'm getting my master's degree from Purdue. Purdue is local here. It's another really good, I guess. So Purdue is interesting because MIT gets touted as like the best engineering school in the country, but it's a very specific type of engineering. It's I wouldn't call it applied engineering. Like it's very pure kind of engineering. Your classes have a lot of proofs and math, and they throw in some lab classes where you build things and whatnot, but like it's a very academic engineering. Whereas Purdue is a much more applied and industrial, like get a job straight out of college in like the industrial workforce, factories and whatnot type of engineering. So it's really interesting to compare and contrast the two educations. I have a bunch of people who are much more qualified to do work where I'm working who are Purdue graduates because at Purdue you don't learn the theories behind like the algorithms and whatnot behind how to do certain things with microcontrollers and whatnot. They're like, this is a PLC. A PLC is a computer that controls machines in factories. Here is the industry standard. Let me teach you the industry standard PLC so that when you graduate, you can go control this and get a job immediately. And it's just really interesting to see that. It is a much better school for people who I guess MIT is like, how do I don't even know how to describe it. It's like MIT is very renowned and academic and just really difficult and challenging and really for people who love learning and love focusing and working hard and playing hard and all that. MIT is perfect. But for people who really just like want to be in industry and want to develop industry skills and want to be good at work and have an interest in that kind of stuff and want to learn applied stuff like that, Purdue is an amazing school for that, from what I've seen. So it's kind of cool to follow up a degree in MIT with like you do all the theoretical like super hard stuff at MIT, and then you follow it up with a bunch of really applied real life stuff from Purdue. It could be a deadly combo. I don't know what it would be like going the other way around. Like to go from undergrad at Purdue and get all these real world skills. I wonder what it would be like to have like an intensive master's degree program at MIT where it didn't feel as applicable. I wonder if and it would and harder, like and way harder. Because the class I'm taking at Purdue right now it's a grad school class, like it's a 5 level difficult class, but it is not, it doesn't even hold a candle to how difficult even my easiest undergrad class was at MIT. Do not think for a second that MIT will be easy. It is quite difficult, but that is part of what makes it fun. So that's where the whole like IHTFP, if you haven't seen that yet. So IHTFP is like MIT's unofficial slogan, motto. I don't even know how to describe it, but like you'll see those letters used a lot. And people like it because they have like dual meaning. They can either stand for I have truly found paradise, or they stand for I hate this fucking place. And it all depends on what kind of day you're having and even then it's kind of they can both coexist at the same time where it's a really interesting or I think it's interesting um, kind of summation of the MIT experience, IHTFP. Okay. And this way. This is good. We're knocking a bunch of this out. I think maybe after this, just to treat myself, I'll do his eyes. Add a new little bit of color in there. Add some variation. So normally, so here's more cross-stitch wisdom. So I have just, let's see if I can do this. I have just stitched these 4 leading up to the bottom of the eye. So like these 4 stitches here. And if I were to continue along that row, I would be jumping across these 3 empty stitches at the bottom of the eye. But when I do that, it's like a giant leap across the back. So you can see this, like see these big jumps. I hate these jumps. So I try to keep everything like nice and tight like this so you don't have jumps. But then every once in a while you end up with like a big leap like this. And if you were really diligent, you would never have to do that. But sometimes I just get lazy. The big reason to avoid those jumps is if that jump is, if that's actually jumping across one of these little holes here, you will actually see that through the front of the cross stitch. And you don't want to see like blue or some other color shine through the front. So I tried to minimize those jumps, but those jumps are safe if you know that you're going to be doing a darker color over this. So I know I'm going to be doing a black eye, and I can stitch it in a way so that I cover up the big nasty jump on the back of the fabric. So if I know I'm going to be able to cover it up and I know it's not going to negatively impact the front, I will sometimes do those big jumps. Otherwise, I would rather take the extra 30 seconds to a minute to stop, trim the floss off, restart, and not do the big jump. It matters so little. Like the back of the cross stitch is, I don't know why I care so much. I mean, I care about the front. So like, I don't like the big leaps across the back because sometimes you can see them from the front. And that matters a lot with ones like, hold on. So like, yeah, this one. Like this is a dark blue cross stitch. And so if I make a big leap of white across space, then I'm going to see it through the front. So you can see I had to be very careful and try to keep everything contained. I got a little fuzzy here. Yeah. Like especially here, you can see with this text down here, like where it says Cooper, like I was very careful to keep all of the color totally where the letters are. So even like the O's in Cooper, you can see I didn't leap from O to O to O. I stitched each letter individually so that you wouldn't see the white thread jump from letter to letter to letter. And the result is that you can't see any white shining through. Each letter is just all white on a blue field. So it's not super. Hold on. Okay. Let's get that plugged back. It's not super critical on this one because this is just kind of a fun little one. It's not getting the $250 frame or anything on it, but it's just good practice, right? Because you skip it on one or something, and then it's easier to skip it on another, and then you lose the muscle memory, and then it's just all downhill from there. It's a slippery slope. So maintaining good back of fabric stitching discipline is key, in my opinion. The other thing that's sometimes hard is knowing where to come through on the back. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll poke the needle through from the front just to kind of mark it so I can flip it over and see where the needle came through and use that as a way to indicate where I need to come through from the back. So I think I'm quickly getting to the point where I'm going to have to tie this one off and start elsewhere, which is fine because it's long enough. Oh, so I don't know if you could tell, but right below the chat, it's kind of gray on gray here, but if I put my hand on it, you'll see it. That little countdown there. I added that, I think, today. Yeah, I guess it would have had to have been today. That is the amount of time left until CPW is over, which is a little depressing to think about now, but will make way more sense and be way more relevant like once CPW actually starts. Now the big question is going to be like, am I going to finish the Ukrainian cat? And if so, when? I don't know. Oh yeah, so I have homework that's due Tuesday. So tomorrow is due my homework day. And then I have a midterm that's due Thursday. So I don't totally know. It's like an at-home thing. So I do it on Thursday, but I have to like, you know, study at least a little bit prior. And then after Tuesday and Thursday, then just a couple of days at work, and then I am in Boston. So I think I want to start. Do this. I think I want to start right here. So route planning is another thing. So if if I were to start at the top here, you know, there and back and there and back and there and back and there and back, and I might not be able to get down here. Like the way the back and forths might go, I would only end up down here. Um, but if I start in the bottom right here, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, then I am guaranteed to be able to dive down here and finish this. No, maybe not. Now that I think about it, I don't know. I'm not gonna spend too much time thinking about it. I'm just gonna stitch it and see what happens. But I do kind of like doing the route planning, figuring out where to start in order to keep everything smooth and even. Okay. Okay, so this is an instance of I'm marking it from the front so I can see the hole back there. And going like that. Voila. Okay, trim off the excess. I'm curious to see how the audio ends up working on campus. Like, there's just a couple of unknowns still that I'm a little not freaked out about, but like lighting, I don't know how lighting is going to work. I mean, I don't have a particularly sophisticated lighting setup here, so I'm going to kind of be a slave to the environment. And then audio, because I expect that there will be not a small amount of background noise at any given time on campus. And I just don't know. I mean, my mic is not super close to my face and it picks me up, but if I turn away, it loses me. So I'm hoping that it kind of reduces the background noise and it doesn't come through. I think you'll kind of hear this really pleasant kind of background rumble of like if you had an iPhone app that had ambient coffee shop noise. I'm kind of hoping that's what comes through. Kind of like the difference between when you listen to a podcast that's recorded in the studio and then they do like a live recording and you can kind of hear that it's just bigger space with people in it. That's kind of what I'm thinking it's going to sound like. Which would be cool. Hoping for something like that. I also suspect that I will end up listening to music. Like the number of people actively watching or interacting with me at any given point is definitely not always going to be greater than 0. So just having some light music going on in the background is going to be key to my overall mental health. I mean, it's gonna be a marathon. Like I have actively been thinking for weeks now about like how to mentally and physically prepare for this. Like I am going to be stitching for 16 hours a day or more. And I don't think that that's something I can just do without a certain amount of like preparation or training. Um, this has been kind of nice leading up to it. It's kind of a nice warm up to highlight where some of the issues might be. So, for example, just sitting for 16 hours a day, that's not something that I typically do at all. That's very, very atypical. So, I might need some kind of like stretching regimen or like heated back pad or to stand up every so often. I don't know. And then just like my hands cramping up. I don't know. I've never stitched so long that my hands have like legitimately cramped up, but I've also never stitched for 16 hours straight. So I'm going to do some research and figure out. Well, 16, yes. So 16 hours is ridiculous, and that's only the first day, right? So like it's 16 hours a day for 3 days straight, which my wife would be the first to tell you that I am a I am famous for doing things like this, like running marathons or pulling all-nighters or like doing cross-country road trips. Like I really enjoy endurance challenges. So this is a self-imposed hardship that I am worried about, but also really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to being able to say that I did it, even if no one cares at all. But yeah, the idea is to be like the sidewalk chalk artist, like at a festival, who like you see drawing on the sidewalk on day one and just doing this huge, crazy, intricate thing, and you can stop by over the course of the festival on different days and whatnot, and he's still working on it. And then by the end, it's all done, and you can see like the fruits of his labor from when he's been working on it the whole time. So maybe when the MIT one is all done, I'll fire it off to admissions, get it all framed up and fire it off, and they can hang it on a wall somewhere. That'd be kind of fun. Or, ooh, I could put it in the MIT museum with a little like plaque underneath it. It's like a little art piece. MIT has a super cool museum. It's mostly like, well, it is almost entirely technology things, so a piece of art would not necessarily fit right in. But if it had a good enough story, it could fit in. I'm giving my cat eyebrows now. It's gonna have one big old long unibrow. Yeah, it's weird to think. So I've done 3 of these little pre-sessions at 2 hours each. So all together, that's 6 hours total. And that's like less than half of one day of what's going to be happening there. How awesome is that? Okay, I think I'm going to have to come back and do. I think what's going to happen is I'm coming up this side and then going across and filling in that whole top. And then I'm going to have to come back at the very end and do this little bit between the eyes. And I started with 2 brand new fresh. I didn't start that way actually. I stitched some up and then I had to do so. I'm getting through a bunch of floss here. Like I'm really cranking through here today. Getting through it, getting through it. So, big reminder here. Start with 6, and you gotta split it in half. So you get 3 and 3. Yep. The other thing I'm sort of not really worried about is internet connection speed, because like I'm streaming over Wi-Fi at my home. I think it is reasonably safe to assume that MIT will have robust enough Wi-Fi network to handle my live stream. I'm hoping it's even robust enough that I can do it outside. That would be cool. I just now started thinking about that. If the weather's nice, being able to do this outside would be really, really great. Okay. Onward. Twist it. So normally, all right, hard pivot to a different topic. Normally I listen to audiobooks or something if I've got long drives. Like today, I would have listened to an audiobook while driving to and from Indy. But for whatever reason, Like, even though I am not in any way in the market for a new computer, I have been binging Linus Tech Tips. Linus Tech Tips is a guy named Linus Sebastian who's from Canada, and he used to work for a computer place, and now he just does computer technology reviews and computer like builds computers for live streams and just is generally like plugged into the custom gaming PC market. And I built a computer back in 2014, maybe 2015, 2014. So like almost 10 years ago. Oh, good. um, and so like it's weird. Like I don't know why I'm watching it because I like I listen and it's just like the rate at which they spew model numbers and specs and acronyms for things that didn't even exist when I built my computer. But I don't look anything up and I don't try to like um I don't try to learn. I just let it all wash over me like a wave and then slowly pick up stuff. So if I ever do need to upgrade my computer, I will presumably like be somewhat up to date. But the big moral of the story I'm getting from LTT right now is don't upgrade your computer if you want it to have a graphics card. And apparently that's the song that's been being sung for the last 2 years. If you need a graphics card, just don't. Um, and so I have a graphics card, but it's a graphics card from like 2014, right? And the other thing that I'm picking up from LTT is that graphics cards have a like they new ones are announced like at a really rapid cadence. Like it's surprising how quickly. So like I had a really nice like I have a 980 Ti, which back in the day was crazy awesome good. And now it is garbage. Which is just and it's like, wow, I mean, but here's the thing, it still does everything I need it to do. And the I can't be bothered to I'm turning into an old man where it's like, well, it does everything I need it to do. Why would I upgrade it? I'm perfectly happy with it. And then pretty soon there's going to be an operating like it's just going to be I think about like my dad, well, why would I need to install anything new? It's like, well, because you have to. My kids are going to be saying that to me. It's like, well, I only use like 6 programs and it works perfectly well for that. But no, maybe when graphics card prices come back down, then I'll actually sit down and rebuild it. I go on these like weird tears on YouTube where it's like for a month or two, I just totally binge all of like a particular type of subject matter, and it's so random. And I so I'm really well educated in a variety of really like weird things. I think my favorite was there's this guy called the Hoof GP. Hoof like animals have hooves, hoof. And he basically just goes to farms and like trims the hooves of cows. He like has a grinding wheel and like a knife and he just trims hoof. And I have learned so much about proper maintenance of cow feet watching this YouTube channel. And I have no idea. Uh, and then I watch like videos about sharpening chisels and barbecuing and just it's really probably kind of dangerous because it makes me feel like I'm much more educated in any given topic than I actually am, like a YouTube expert. So, but I don't know, it's just it's cool. It's really it doesn't really matter what the subject matter is. Finding someone who is really interested in it and listening to them really get into all the specifics of it and just like, wow, there is a lot to that and this person is all about it. Is just really I think pretty much anything someone's passionate about. Oh, I went on a Mr. Beast kick for a little bit. I guess like 50 million other people have. But that was cool for a little bit, but then it's like I I I kind of burn out on that level of energy. Like I really think the things he does are awesome and he's got a really good formula for success, but it's like, okay, I need a Mr. Beast break for a little bit and then I'll go back to it. Let's see what else. Lots of woodworking videos, but that's not so much random. That's just because I like woodworking. Can't really think of any others right now, but they're definitely like I definitely just will catch on to something and then just keep watching it. Let's see. This will work. Yes, this will work. If not, it's because I'm letting the thread twist because I'm getting lazy. Okay. Working my way to the left. Moving to the left, I'll come to the right. And then that should wrap up this part of the top of the cat's head. Then I'll dive down and get in between his eyes. Then I will switch to black. I think I should be able to, like if I were to make a goal, I should be able to get his eyes done during this stream. If I don't get distracted telling stories and can actually focus, I should be able to get the eyes done. It'll actually start looking like a creature instead of an amorphous blue blob. So. So Hector, although there is more than Hector on here right now, but Hector, do you plan on, have you decided whether or not yet you are going to attend MIT, or are you still contemplating several options? Heading back, so this year is going to be done. And say, because it's interesting, like, yeah, like when I went to CPW, like I knew, I think I'd already submitted like my acceptance. But there are lots of people who are still trying to decide to go. We're still trying to decide to go, and they like use CPW as the tool to decide whether to go or not. And that's just not at all what it was like for me. So it's interesting to get the opinions and the insights of those who are basing it that way. But it sounds like you are likely going to attend now that you've been accepted. Although, yeah, I would say that most people who apply early action tend to actually like really, really want to go. Before, MIT is not early decision, it's early action, so you're not obligated to go. But so CPW is just, yeah, low stress, man. You're not trying to figure anything out I mean, yeah, you're trying to figure out if it's, you know, there's stuff you could figure out, like try to figure out the dorms and get some questions answered, but ultimately you're not trying to decide whether to go or not, which is like a huge load off. Just swing and a miss. There we go. I wonder if there's a way. I wonder if cross stitching could be like made into an ASMR thing. Probably not. Like there's not a whole lot of sound to this. It's just like needle going through fabric. It would just be like me creepily breathing, which I guess could be ASMR, but it seems like low effort. Exactly how I wanted to do that. Oh well. Oh, neither was that. Ugh. No, I'm not gonna do that. Have to do that. Darn. Okay, that'll mostly look okay, I think. So close. I love getting close to like finishing big blocks or something. Like it's just a really uh, cross stitching is such a slow endeavor that finishing chunks of it is really satisfying because even if it's not the whole thing, you've poured a lot of time into just one little bit here. All right. So let's go do. So here's the other trick. There's your ASMR. Hope that doesn't gross you out. That was mean. I'm sorry. Um, okay. So if I were to tie this off, what I would do is I would slide the needle through some of the stitches in the back here and let that hold it down. But I am so close to the middle of the between the eyes that if I'm going to slide the needle through the stitches anyway, there's no reason to cut it off. I will just kind of travel over to where I need to start stitching again, like here. There, and it's like a little Mario warp pipe. Like all of a sudden I have gone through the back to exactly where I need to be. Yep. And it still looks clean back there. I wonder if I'm going to be able to finish it on this little stretch of floss without having to tap into the new one. It's not a lot, but I think it could be enough. So if I listen to music while I'm doing this, one of my big fears, the number one thing potentially keeping me from doing that, is the fear that I will start singing and humming along, which just cannot happen. I need that to not exist on the internet. Let me check something here. Okay. keep getting little warnings about my audio bitrate dropping out, which is funny because I don't think I've done anything unusual that would cause that to happen. I don't know why audio would drop out instead of video. So I'm just going to assume that it is not doing that and that YouTube is just fritzing out on me. Uh-oh. Oh, this one's being a bit of a bugger. There we go. Perfect. Oh, I just heard screaming from upstairs, so I'm in my basement right now. I have, oh cool, thank you for the validation there. I wonder if it just cuts out audio if I don't talk for a while. That doesn't make sense. Okay. No, it's not you. There's like built in, the lag on YouTube is like baked into the platform. It's like my stream has to go up to space and through a server and then down, and then it has to go from you. It's the latency is, I even have, you can set the latency on YouTube, and I've got it set to like ultra low latency, and it's still like a 15-second latency. So that's just kind of the way of things. Past years, for the online version of CPW, everything was in Discord. And so there was like zero latency because I was just basically video chatting in Discord and people were tuning in to watch. But on YouTube, it's like much more of like a formal actual streaming setup. And it just, for whatever reason, is high latency. But there's not a lot of other, like I don't want to do Twitch, I don't want to do Zoom. Like I think YouTube is the correct choice. I'm willing to accept the latency just because I am all set up on the platform and understand it and can do it. So we will all just have to accept the latency. But guess what? If you come by in real life, stand physically in front of me, no latency. No more than like the speed of sound, I guess. But that's an acceptable amount of latency. I'm totally gonna finish with this one piece. That's awesome. It's actually gonna look pretty cool. And I get this filled in and see what it looks like. It is going to look pretty sweet. It's gonna look even better once I start doing the black. The other trick to cross stitching is always, unless there are very, very good reasons, always do your light colors or your whites very last, because they will pick up the oils from your hands and they will get dirty as you're stitching. And it is much easier to keep them clean if they are the very last things that you do. So while I'm going to do his eyes, I will probably wait to do his pupils until the very end. But that is okay because this is a light colored fabric, so you'll still kind of get the gist of what it looks like. It won't look super odd or out of place. It's not like we'll have to wait for the very end of this experience to get it to look close. All right, so then fish this needle through a few of these here. Trim that short. Let's take a look at this thing. Oh yeah, that's like starting to look like a cat. I'd buy that for $10. Look at that. Didn't miss any, so they're all full stitches. I didn't miss any stitches. All right, let's get some black. I'll get out the box of amazing colors. pull out. Here, got one that's almost dead. I'll knock that out. All right. Let's do it. Okay, that's not 3 strands, that's 2, so that's garbage. Don't care about that. Here, this is my leftover blue one. I'm gonna wind this back up. Okay. You can live here. You can have a place on the camera. Look at that. Okay. Get this unwound here. Let's just kill it. This is way too long, but it's okay. So now I got to split this one into half, 3 and 3. Okay, got it right there. Oh, and the backdrop of my wall there, you can actually see what I'm doing here. So I'm pulling these strands out. How do I get back in front of the wall? There it is. I'm letting this untwist as I do it. But it's about 50% longer than I normally do, and I don't have the wingspan to get it. There it is. Let it untwist a little bit. See it spinning like that? Can't stitch it when it's all spun up like that. Okay, and then we'll do the other one. Spin, black on black. Black on black. Okay. Lay that one to the side. All right. So, kitty eyeballs. You got to be a little careful because I'll show you on the pattern why we have to be careful. It would be tempting to just fill in these circles, but where'd you go, pattern? The circles don't fully define the eyes, right? Like these star shapes here. They are here. I've got a different here. Will you let me try a different screen here? We're gonna try something. This one. Look at that, zoomed in pattern. Isn't that great? So we have to be a little careful because I didn't stitch these ones with the stars. So I need to leave gaps for them when I'm doing the eyes. So the safest way to do it would be to start at the bottom with these 3. Do 3 along the bottom, 3 up, and then 3 along the top. And then just totally avoid any of this upper area. So that's what I'm gonna do. I could do his nose too. I probably will do his nose on this one as well. Okay. I think I have another. Ooh, I can make the pattern really big. I have another extra setting. Check this one out. Look at that one. Crazy big pattern kitty. Okay, enough playing with the different screens. Let's do it. Oh, it's so super duper long. Okay. Really not used to stitching with a piece of floss this long. It's all good. I have had the songs from Encanto stuck in my head for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't think they're ever going to leave my head. Most of the time, if you see me with headphones on, not now, but most of the time if you see me with headphones on, I am listening either to Linus Tech Tips or I guess the WAN show, because that's an actual podcast. Um, or I am listening to the Encanto soundtrack. I say Encanto like the slobbish American that I am, but I just feel so disingenuous saying Encanto. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should like actually try to pronounce it somewhat sort of correctly. But right now in my head, just on loop, is we don't talk about Bruno, and there's just nothing I can do about it. Unless I guess I could get a different song stuck in my head, I could start listening to Baby Shark. That'd be fun. I don't know how like YouTube takedowns work at all. Like how, like I'm sure like if I just started belting Baby Shark, like if because I have ways of like piping my screen, my computer audio through to the feed. But I'm pretty sure if I do that, then Baby Shark would get this video removed from YouTube. I don't really want it removed from YouTube. But on campus, I'll probably find a way of going after people with Baby Shark. You know, it's one of those things where like it's not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. You get a toddler that's listened to it as much as mine has, and you start to kind of appreciate the catchiness. Yeah, I mean, okay, so in Encanto, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda, which I don't know your familiarity with Broadway and or Disney, but Lin-Manuel Miranda is kind of like the super trendy it guy right now in terms of music. He did Hamilton, Frozen, Moana, did Encanto. So he does a lot of like narrative rap storytelling type music, but it's also like incredibly well orchestrated and has all sorts of like musical layers and just like drips music theory. Oh, is he? I had no idea. Okay, so then you're up on your Lin-Manuel Miranda. Anyway, um, Encanto is just his most recent foray. Although I'm sure they'll spit out another Frozen movie at some point. He can write the soundtrack too. Although the soundtrack, no. So Frozen wasn't. Frozen was Bobby Lopez. Frozen was a different Broadway crew. I got to make sure that I don't just get distracted and keep doing muscle memory and blast right through like the white part of his eye. He says right as he does it. I literally said that as I was putting in the. Oh, son of a gun. Okay, hold on. This doesn't happen very often, but I gotta pull some stitches. That's frustrating. It went way faster than I thought it would. Okay, that stitch right there. That was supposed to be white. Okay. Yeah. 3 half stitches is not as bad as dozens of full stitches. Okay, there it is. Now we can keep going. Well, shoot, I'm not just gonna finish the eyes by the end of the stream. I'm gonna be able to like, I might get into the darker blue. That might be kind of cool. To add some of these tiger stripes to like the top, like the sides of his cheeks and the top of his face. I might be able to get to some of that. Nope, I just did it again. Sons of guns. All that stuff I said I need to be careful of, and then I just totally disregard it and screw it all up. Okay, hold on. Everything that's happening right now is bad. It's all bad. I just split the strands up, so when I go to the back here, it's just gonna be a hot mess. Yep, it's a hot mess on the back. Brr. I can fix it. I can fix it. I can fix it. Okay. It's like fixed enough. I gotta pull one more stitch out of the back here. Where'd we go? Right here? This guy here? Yeah, that seems right. Okay. Okay. That thing I said about maybe getting through the black and going to the dark blue, if I keep having to pull out 2 stitches every time I make 3 stitches, it's not going to happen. Okay. Go. So these 3 stitches will be the end of this, and then I will go back down and finish all these half stitches off. 2 and 3. I'm headed back. There's some other, I don't have the schedule memorized, but there's some other like pre-CPW online things. I can't remember. Like, I know they didn't start as early as mine, but I think we might be into it. Wasn't there like a walking tour? Has that already happened? Do you know? I don't have it in front of me. Isn't it like CJ just walks around campus with his phone turned on and pointing it at things? That'd be kind of cool. I think there were a couple of fun ones. One was about literature. It was like an event about like sticking up for like a fictional villain or something. I guess that isn't inherently literature. I just think of literature when I hear the word fiction. Then there was like a campus tour, and then there was like I don't know, there's a bunch of little online streamy majiggers leading up to it. Wow, the eye really adds something. Like, okay, you probably can't tell very much on camera, but like, it's starting to actually look like it has some character here. That's really exciting. My son is obviously not in bed yet because I hear the pitter patter of excited feet sprinting back and forth above me and smashing into things and throwing things. I think this is his final hurrah. I think my wife just told him it was time to go to bed soon, and he is screaming and running to try to, I don't know, convince her that he's far too awake to go to bed. It's not going to be an argument that is ultimately successful, but, um, you know, we let him try. It's important to give someone a chance to state their case. So I want to get really close down to the fabric, but like I'm afraid like if I stick my head too far over, it starts to, yep, there's my hair. So this is how far I can go before my hair shows up in the camera. Normally when I cross stitch, if I'm not streaming, I'm just like sitting on the couch, like watching TV. It's weird having to like think about, oh, am I in frame or is this showing the way I want it to and things like that. It's a different experience. Wonder if it's the same for like video game streaming. Like if you can be as casual about it as you are when you're just playing recreationally or if it becomes much more of like a performance. All right, there's one eye. Let's get this buttoned up here. Okay. So the other one is exactly the same. So that's easy enough. Get started right here. So I'm going to do a different strategy on this one. So instead of doing half stitches all the way up, I'm going to just do it row by row. So I'm going to do a complete row and then bump up. Okay. That is not. Nope. 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 I'm back. That was not at all where that was supposed to go. I don't know why these eyes are giving me so much trouble. Like I didn't have to pull out hardly any blue stitches, maybe like one or two. I am just mangling these guys. There we go. So I think, let's see, Boston, 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 Boston. So let me give you a tip for Boston. So if you end up spending a summer in Boston, either due to working at MIT or working near enough to MIT that you are still in the Boston area, you may be so inclined to go to the 4th of July celebration in Boston, which is totally valid because it is one of the most American 4th of July place like festivals ever because it's like, Boston, tons of history there. So people from all over the country fly into Boston for the 4th of July fireworks show and concert and all that, which means it is insanely crowded and insanely hard to get around and not as fun as it would be if it were a little less busy. But what they don't advertise very often or very hard is that on the 3rd of July, they do all the same stuff but without the fireworks, including the concert. And they have a concert at like this open half dome. It's called the Hatch Shell. It's like a big amphitheater thing. And it's like really famous artists perform there for Boston 4th of July. And so you can just go on the 3rd of July and catch the exact same concert for free without having to worry about all of the people. Now, you won't get the fireworks that night, but it's still like an amazing opportunity. So I went, I think, 2 or 3 of my years there. I went to that, and it was super awesome. And then I would still go for the 4th of July, but I wouldn't try to get to the concert just because it was just so insane. So I would just go outside and MIT, like actual MIT property on MIT campus has some of the best firework viewing spots of the entire like greater Boston area. So there will be dorms that will just like drag their couches out and just like set them up along the river and watch the fireworks from their dorm room couches, which is really kind of fun. 3 stitches, and then I gotta skip one because this is his pupil. Because it's not a pupil, right? Because like it's white. I don't totally know what it is. It's the white of his eyes. Yeah, knots are getting me. There we go. Okay. One more little row here. And it will be time to go to the dark blue. I think it's a dark blue. So it's interesting on the screen, it's like almost indistinguishable. That's why I have it kicked into pattern mode. Normally I don't like pattern mode. Like I don't like being able to see like all the shapes and stuff. But like watch what happens when I get rid of it. It's just so subtle. I can barely even tell, like especially when I put the white lines on, like that's game over. I can't tell at all the difference. So they're really, really close in color on the screen. I'm curious to see how close they are in real life because I will tell you right now, I did not have $1,000 monitors that have like screen accurate colors. I have like $100 monitors that I bought because I had to work from home. So the accuracy of the color is questionable. Okay, 2 more black stitches here. And I'll bust out that bobbin. Sweet. There it is. He's got eyeballs. Eyeballs. Feels like a Sunday. It feels like I have to go to work tomorrow. which is both good and bad because it's good because I don't have to go to work tomorrow. It's bad because it's kind of cramping my Saturday night. I don't like spending a Saturday night where it feels like time is short, you know? Okay, so let's get this remaining floss back on the bobbin so I can use it later. Waste not, want not. That's one of them. Okay. So now, gotta go to the pattern. I gotta figure out which blue. So this is going to be 995. No, it's not. Wait, what's going on here? What are my two colors? So I've got 3843. Then I've got 995. Well, okay, I don't have 995. I have 796. So watch. Here, I'll show you. This is called not cheating. Here, this one. So I'm just discovering in my little box here that I have 796, but I do not have what it wants me to have, which is 995. So all you do is you click 995, change color. You got your handy dandy keyboard. Change that sucker to 796. Oh, that's dramatically different. Oh, I'm going to be able to tell the difference between that. Is that even going to look good? Ah. It's not nearly that purple in real life. Hmm. I don't think it's going to look that crazy. I mean, it's definitely darker. Like, it's not going to be subtle tiger stripes. Let's see what it looks like here. I don't know. Like, it's just not that purple. Like, I think if it were that purple, it would be bothersome, but it's not. It's not that purple. So, no, let's go for it. Let's just go for it. Live dangerously. In the 12 minutes we have left, let's try to knock some of this out here. Hurry, 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 hurry. Okay. I think I'll do the little, I'm going to leave the ears alone. I'm going to try to do the stuff in the middle. So like the little tiger stripes on the left, and then maybe try to get near the eyes. Hmm. I think I might be able to cook through these reasonably quickly. Be able to see if it's going to look good or not. make sure this is actually going to look good here. So what was happening is I was pushing some fluff through the back, so it was going to create a little poof. It actually does end up looking kind of purple, doesn't it? So it doesn't look purple when it's in the spool. It looks like a dark blue. Maybe vaguely purple, but then when I get it onto the cat, it looks a lot like the render. I haven't decided whether I like that or not. I mean, I like it enough to keep going. But it makes me wonder like what the original vision was from, because this is not my pattern. So I wonder. And I think now thinking back, what happened was I tried to buy the blue that they actually wanted me to use, but they didn't have it at the craft store, so I kind of winged it. This is why I shouldn't be allowed to wing things. That's not true. It's fun. That's half the point, is like you take the colors in the pattern and you're like, that's great. And I see what you're trying to go for there, but I'm going to use my own colors. Come on, what's that? Okay, 8 minutes. 8 minutes to make some serious. Oh, I forgot to do his nose. When I had the blackout, I was supposed to do his nose. Oh well. I can always go back and do it. Not the end of the world. I think this part looks cooler. Now let's hop over to, let's do above his eye here. That'll look pretty cool. Okay. A few more stitches and a few more minutes. Let's trim off this here. I think all I'm doing is filling in all the empty spots except for where the pupil goes, so that makes it fairly easy to keep track of where I am and where I'm going. This is gonna look good. Yeah, I think I ended up liking this color. Not just because I've gotten started with it, but I think it'll actually look pretty good here. I'll hold it up in a half second and kind of show you what it looks like. And then one thing I like to do, just in the last minute or two that we have here, so you can see there are a couple of areas where there's just a tad too much white space between the dark purple color and the other stuff. So one of them is centered above the left eye. There's just a little bit too much white on the bottom. And then on the lower cheek stripe, there's a little bit too much white on the top. So what I do is I just take the needle and I kind of bias the floss in that direction. I don't hurt it or anything. I just kind of like get it to want to kind of move in that direction a little bit. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But like in that case there, in both those cases, I filled up those white spots nicely. So you can't even tell that there used to be a little too much white. So I think I'm going to call it an evening. 2 minutes left, cutting it short 2 minutes early. I know. But yeah, I think that's it. So I think the next time cross-stitching happens live in front of a studio audience is not going to be a studio audience. It's going to be like an actual, like, real people audience. So thanks for coming. Thanks for staying, Hector. Appreciate it. And I will see you and your 1,300 future classmates in, well, I think it's like 11 days or something. Yeah, 11 days. So have a good evening and see you later.